Look at that. I needed to read that.
That wasn't doing it.
Perfect. Thank you. Of course.
Perfect. Now we're ready to go.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, this is Helena Snyder, Private Investigator Subcommittee meeting for February 17th, 2026. And I will go ahead and read the administrative announcement, excuse me. This is a public meeting subject to the public meeting law, and it will be recorded. Deliberation of issues will only be conducted by private investigators, policy committee members, unless permitted by the chair. Individuals who engage in disruptive behavior that impedes official business will be asked to stop being disruptive or leave the meeting. Additional measures may be taken to have disruptive individuals removed if their continued presence poses a safety risk to the other persons in the room or makes it impossible to continue the meeting. And did I need to change the verbiage in there to say the private investigator subcommittee meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
No worries. Just wanted to be sure. I just happened to read it going, wait, I don't think that's right. So, all right. With that, I believe we are on to introductions, and I'm assuming that's roll call mainly. Okay.
When I call on you, please state your name and who you represent for the record. We'll start with you, Chair Snyder.
Okay. Helena Snyder,
Private investigator.
private investigator, sorry.
Member Walt. Member Walt, are you there?
Cassandra Ruwalt, private investigator.
Thank you. And then Member Odd.
James Odd, private investigator.
Now for staff introductions, Juan Lopez, Executive Assistant, DPSST.
Michelle Morrison, compliance investigator, DPSST.
Susie Herring, DPSST staff.
Marie Atwood, DPSST.
Jennifer Howell, DPSST.
Excellent. Next on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes from November 18th, 2025. Did everybody have a chance to review those meeting minutes? And were there any questions or things that needed to be amended or changed?
I thought it looked good.
Yeah, I thought it looked good, and I would like to motion to approve the minutes.
And that's just by consensus. So the sounds of it, there were no issues. I reviewed them as well. I didn't see anything that needed to be changed. So with that, the meeting minutes from November 18th, 2025 are approved. And next on the agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Morrison.
Okay, Michelle Morrison for the record. We are here today to review the compliance matter for David Huckins, the renewal of his application for a private investigator license, if it should be denied on violation of moral fitness standards as defined in Oregon Administrative Rule 259-061-0040 and as referenced in OAR 259-061-0300. I'm going to go over the material events and conduct related to the issues. On May 20th, 2017, Huckins was arrested for disorderly conduct in the second degree and harassment by the Roseburg Police Department. Huckins was cited to appear in the Roseburg Municipal Court. Huckinson's arrest was a result of Huckins accusing a female patron of the bar of stealing beer after she exited the bar. Huckins was told by the bouncer at the bar that the female had not stolen beer and told him to go away. However, Huckins then grabbed the female patron by her hair and threw her to the ground. This altercation occurred in the parking lot of the bar. Huckins was formally charged with harassment as a result of this incident in the Roseburg Municipal Court. On May 26, 2017, Huckins was allowed a continuance without a finding of no entry of a plea for clarification for a period of 6 months, deferment of the charge. Huckins was required to have no further problems with the victim, have no new crimes or arrests, and was required to pay court fees. Mr. Huckins completed those requirements and the charge was dismissed. On July 7th, 2024, Huckins was arrested for assault in the fourth degree, strangulation, and disorderly conduct in the second degree by the Sutherland Police Department. Huckins was ordered to appear in the Sutherland Municipal Court, and the charges were the result of a physical altercation at a bar with several bar patrons. On July 30th, 2024, Huckins was formally charged with strangulation, assault in the fourth degree, and harassment in the Sutherland Municipal Court. On August 26, 2024, Huckins entered a diversion agreement for a period of 6 months. As part of that agreement, Huckins was ordered to perform 80 hours of community service, pay restitution to the victim, and was ordered to enter and complete an alcohol treatment program. Huckins completed the requirements successfully, and the charges were dismissed on March 17th, 2025. Some relevant circumstances for consideration. Huckins was last certified as a private investigator from November 20th, 2023 through November 20th of 2025. Huckins has continuously held licensure as a private investigator since December 1st of 2015. Huckins provided very minimal moral fitness information with his application for renewal. Huckins specifically informed the department that he would not discuss his treatment and counseling with department staff. As a result, the department has no information on whether alcohol treatment was recommended, what type of alcohol counseling, if any, was completed, and any details related to mental health counseling that he had mentioned in his mitigation that he did submit. Additionally, the department has no information from Huckins regarding how any counseling or treatment may have been beneficial. Huckins was the subject of a complaint in 2022 that alleged that Huckins violated the code of conduct. This complaint was found to be non-jurisdictional / incomplete. The department staff were unable to reach a consensus to close this case investigation without further action. Therefore, this case is moved forward for a review by the board through the Private Investigator Subcommittee and Policy Committee. And one addition to this staff report is that DPSST was notified over the weekend that Mr. Huckins was issued a citation for driving under the influence of intoxicants.
Recently, I'm assuming, sorry.
Yes, I'm assuming that it was over the weekend.
Okay.
There are attached exhibits to the staff report that were available for your review.
Is an acceptable time for us to start asking questions, or was there something else that you needed to?
Yes. Would you like me to go over the action items? Okay.
Sure.
So staff requests the subcommittee review the matter and recommend to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee whether to deny Huckins provisional private, that should have said private investigator, not provisional. I'm going to cross that out. License based on violation of the established moral fitness standards. By consensus, the subcommittee adopts or does not adopt a staff report as a record upon which its recommendations are based. By discussion and consensus, identify the conduct that may have violated the established moral fitness standards, lack of character, dishonesty, failure to strive for justice, lack of public trust, lack of respect for the laws of the state or nation. By discussion and consensus, the subcommittee must identify and consider any mitigating and aggravating circumstances. By vote, the subcommittee will find that the conduct does or does not rise to the level to warrant the denial of license, and therefore recommends to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee that the certification be denied or not denied.
So with that, we have to go through each one of these, if I'm not mistaken, but I did have one question in the exhibits myself that I would like to ask. I'm going to find my notes here. It's exhibit A1, page 5 of 6. Back in 2015, he worked as a patrol deputy for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. And there is mentions of recall being subject of some normal citizen complaints. I was wondering, were there any complaints submitted to DPSST during his tenure with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office?
I don't believe, well, So I don't know that it would be a complaint, but a revocation of his certifications had been initiated. At that time, it was not included in the exhibits because it is past our 10-year review period. But yes, there was a revocation initiated, and I believe he worked out he surrendered his certifications in lieu of the revocation.
Do we know why the revocation was?
Yes.
Is that something that we could be
Yes.
told about? Or I don't know how if it crosses lines, if we're not allowed to know that kind of thing, as far as this is concerned or not.
It's not that it would cross any lines, but the consideration for his eligibility for the
Mhm.
PI license is only looking back the 10 years. And that
Right.
would be beyond the 10-year period. And
That
I
is
can
correct.
confirm that if we want to look up his,
It was past the 10.
Okay, no, and that's that.
okay.
I appreciate the clarification in that, so thank you. Were there any other questions from anybody else before we go through our action items?
I don't have any right now.
Okay. So with that, by consensus, we either need to adopt or not adopt the staff report as the record upon which its recommendations are based. Do we have a recommendation to adopt or not adopt the report?
I'll adopt the report.
Sorry. Yeah. I,
Okay, so there is a consensus to adopt the report as written. And by discussion and consensus, we need to identify the conduct that may have violated the established moral fitness standards. First off is lack of good character. This can include, but is not limited to, being disrespectful, failing to be faithful and diligent to an investigative charge, and failing to use discretion or compassion. Is there anything based off of your review of the report that falls into this category?
yeah, there definitely seems like there's quite a bit. You know, yeah. Looking at the hearing the preponderance of everything that's been brought up, I would say there are definitely concerns about those standards being upheld. I think do we need to identify specific things?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I guess from my standpoint, this one's a little hard to pinpoint things other than, I guess, the charges in general were disrespectful to the victims themselves. They were the ones that received the disrespectfulness. I don't know if you have any other specifics that either one of you can point out.
I mean, I think I definitely see where you're coming from. The impact on the victims, I think, would fall under that. I guess I have a broader question about, so if the outcomes of these were dismissed, is how does that weigh into our decision process? If what we're seeing is something that's, these things have been suspended, do we have, I guess we have the accounts of the incident to draw from, that there was an offense that caused disrespect. Yeah, I guess my thought was, if are we assuming the position of the victims, and if so, okay, or do we feel like there's enough? Because I definitely see where you're going with that. Did that make sense?
Susie Herring for the record. If, Member Ott, if I think I understand what you're asking. So when you get to a point of like the aggravating and mitigating, you can certainly consider the fact of the dismissal, but because it didn't end within an actual conviction is not the reason why it's coming to the committee today, because we're actually looking at the conduct. And so that's why the
Right.
categories are the moral fitness. And then you're finding whether or not the conduct that occurred falls into each one of those categories and identifying those. And then you can consider aggravating and mitigating at the next action item.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Helena Snyder, for the record, I was thinking about this too, with the lack of good character is being faithful and diligent to an investigative charge. Huckins was asked by the department to provide information with regards to what he went through, and he failed and did not want to provide that. To me, that is a concern when it comes to character as well.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. I think if the opportunity is given to present explanations in their own personal account, that should be weighed heavily because it is, the other side of the story per se. And the fact, again, that wasn't provided seems like the only thing we can go on is the preponderance of what's in front of us. And I think that should weigh into things heavily. And that is a concern.
Any other discussion for lack of good character? Okay, then next to dishonesty. Lack of honesty includes, but it is not limited to untruthfulness, dishonesty by admission or omission, deception, misrepresentation, or falsification. Did anybody find anything that falls into this category?
I would say nothing that seems explicit. Nothing, nothing that I see within the preponderance of things really indicates that. And maybe they spotted something else.
With that, did Huckins report to us of the recent DUI himself, or did that come in from another?
That came in from the citing agency.
Okay,
No, he did not.
he did not.
Susie Herring for the record, but he will still have the opportunity to
Yeah, yeah.
report. So it has there's a time.
True.
Any other discussion on the dishonesty?
No, but I just wanted to say that is a great question if he withheld something. So I think that was a good question to ask, but I don't have anything else.
Does anyone, this is Helena Snyder for the record, sorry. Does anyone, what is the feeling as far as, and I mentioned this with the lack of good character, with not wanting to provide information regarding the treatment he received? Do you believe that displays dishonesty by admission or omission?
I think that is a really good question. I would say that, the non-participation in, this type of tribunal isn't mandatory, and it's just maybe not a good choice. But that is a good question. I would say it's a right that he has, and so by not providing those things, he's not helping his case. But I don't know if that explicitly should hurt his case.
Cassandra Ruwalt here. I think, he satisfied the court in some way to get these dismissed and provided documentation to them. So I don't think necessarily withholding that information from DPSST should count against him if he doesn't want to share that information. Is there any way that we could have gotten that from the courts itself after it was dismissed? Because he satisfied them. So I don't know if that information could have been shared with us also, if, it's already been satisfied criminally within their district.
Michelle Morrison for the record. I did request the court record and information. The court was very slow to provide me information, and they gave me very basic information as well. They did not want to discuss the treatment or the conditions really. So the information that I have is all that I could get from them, and that is why I had asked him for additional information.
I work in criminal defense, so I totally understand them not wanting to give you information. So
All right. Anything else from the dishonesty category?
Nothing for me.
Oh, it's just a question for me.
I'm sorry, Michelle Morrison for the record.
Yeah.
Susie, I think wanted to just clarify too that as far as Mr. Huckins not wanting to provide any more information, I believe I provided this in the exhibits. I had asked him via email if maybe we could perhaps discuss over the phone, or I wanted to kind of get out of him basically what he got out of the whatever treatment he did do, that he had indicated that he'd done something or had an evaluation. And one of his attorneys advised him to not speak with me any further, or the department. So that certainly is a factor.
Thank you. I missed that in the exhibit, so I appreciate that. Failure to strive for justice is our next category. Failing to strive for justice includes, but is not limited to, unjust treatment or being partial, unfair, or discriminatory. Based upon your review of the report, did you identify any conduct that may have violated this category?
Cassandra Ruwalt here. I don't think I found necessarily anything for lack of justice, since he completed diversion programs through his disciplinary actions and satisfied the courts again. And then withholding information from us on the advice of the attorney, I don't know if that would not constitute as not striving for justice.
Elena Snyder for the record. I would agree. I did not find anything that would fall into this category myself.
Yeah, I would agree as well.
Okay, on to lack of public trust. Failure to maintain public trust and competence includes, but is not limited to, acting in an unlawful manner or not adhering to industry standards. Based upon your review of the report, can you identify conduct that may have violated this category?
Cassandra Ruwalt here again. I just think him being in compromising situations where he gets, charges placed formally on him would be, maintaining public trust and putting himself in an unlawful situation.
Yeah, Helena Snyder for the record, acting in an unlawful manner and industry standards are the two that came to my mind. And I would agree with Cassandra putting himself into a position. For example, it appears that both of these issues or the
the behavior that's brought him to our attention. And because of that, and additionally, there appears to be, or there's no evidence of, that we're aware of any sort of treatment that's been completed. I mean, there was mention, I don't know if that fully, what the outcome of that was, but it's obviously still a problem.
Piggybacking on that, this is Helena Snyder for the record. Would you agree that we don't know if it's been successful treatment?
Is up for the record? Yeah. To me, I don't see anything that is explicit or even infers the success or compliance with any sort of treatment.
Yeah, please.
This is Maria Atwood for the record. I just wanted to note, it's in a separate section of the administrative rules, but the criminal justice section of the rules does define aggravating and mitigating circumstances. So if it's useful information contextually to know how that section defines these concepts. Circumstances that may be considered aggravating include, but are not limited to, the degree of a criminal disposition, so severity of the crime, any prior dispositions or examples of misconduct, a lack of accountability, the number of different persons involved in the underlying conduct, number of separate incidents, the passage of time between incidents, or any other circumstance that you believe aggravates the impact of a person's moral fitness violation. By contrast, mitigating circumstances would include things like written letters of support provided on the person's behalf, their truthfulness when asked about the circumstances of an incident, their cooperation during an incident or an investigation, or any other similar circumstance that lessens the egregiousness of the impact of their violation.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With that then, Helena Snyder for the record too, is from the, if I remember what we just heard correctly, aggravating circumstances, there were 2 violations that we were aware of, one in 2017, the next one in 24. Now we're in 2026 with a potential third. The pattern of these violations are getting shorter in time. I have concern with regards to that. From the mitigating circumstances, we did receive a letter, if I remember correctly, too, from an attorney on behalf of Mr. Huckins. I don't know if the attorney was aware of, I didn't gather that he was specifically aware of the circumstances regarding writing the letter, but that could bode, I'm sure it was to bode more for Mr. Huckins' case, but I don't know if the attorney was completely aware as to why they were writing the letter either. That's my 2 cents, I guess, so far. Did either one of you have, oh, go ahead, please.
Sorry. Cassandra here. I just want to point out, back in November, he had sent an email to Michelle saying that this was in relation to CSAM that he had received, and that he needed to do alcohol treatment per his diversion agreement. And then he also had to do mental health therapy that was not required but needed in that circumstance. And so for him to say that he needed the mental health therapy and then on top of the alcohol diversion program and then not wanted to provide if that was successful or not just seems counterintuitive.
Committee members, sorry, Jim Sod for the record. I agree. I think the letter from the attorney is interesting, but I don't know if it really assists in the mitigation. Could really be factored into that, and the mention of alcohol diversion, but it seems like it would be easy for him to, provide something if he was genuinely concerned about the outcome of a hearing like this. So it seems there are aggravating circumstances and not much in the mitigating circumstances column. I guess to my fellow committee members, what is your take on the value of the letter from Andrew Johnson? Does it feel informative, or is it, I don't know, kind of it comes off to me as not very compelling.
Helena Snyder, for the record, I felt it was somewhat generic, if that is an acceptable term.
Cassandra here. I just want to say he's been an investigator since 2015, correct?
Off and on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but the attorney has this letter in here saying that he's been working in Douglas County for 30 years, and the 25 years that he's known this person to conduct himself as an exceptional investigator, he hasn't even been an investigator for 25 years. So I also feel the attorney letter is very just generalized and not really helpful.
Michelle Morrison, for the record, just to clarify, Mr. Huckins was a Douglas County sheriff deputy prior to him being a private investigator, and so he likely knew and or worked with that attorney. That could be an explanation for that.
I was going to say the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, and then, but so sorry, going back to the Douglas County, but that's where he also gave up his license.
Michelle Morrison, for the record. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we want to have any other discussion regarding mitigating and aggravating circumstances?
James Odd, for the record. I don't see anything additionally that would be compelling, really, either way. So I don't have anything.
Michelle Morrison, for the record.
Yes.
Can I just clarify, did we determine or come to consensus if the letter of recommendation was mitigating?
And it could be mitigating either way, correct? Or no, it could be mitigating. Sorry, I'm talking out loud and not thinking before I speak. I apologize.
James Odd, for the record. I think it is what we have in the mitigating artifacts in the situation. I don't feel like it's very compelling. I don't feel like it's compelling because what the attorney is saying is not consistent with the information that we have in front of us. So for me, it doesn't seem to be an accurate account of Mr. Hutchins. So for me, I would say that although presented as mitigating, it is not compelling.
Elena Snyder for the record. Michelle, did that answer your question? And
Yes, I
Okay.
think it did.
so with that, then by vote, we need to determine if the conduct does or does not rise to the level to warrant the denial of license. And then therefore recommend to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee that his certification be denied or not be denied. So we have to, each one of us has to vote, is my understanding at this point. So I guess my question, just to solidify it, and we would have to do a roll call if I'm not mistaken, is does anyone find the conduct does rise to the level to warrant the denial of license, and recommend to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee that his certification be denied?
James Odd for the record. I don't mean to backtrack. Maybe we shouldn't. I guess just we said that the letter was the only mitigating evidence, but there's also, and I forgot to mention this, and I'm really sorry, the letter that was written to Mrs. Morrison about he explained that the incident was involved the result of me handling traumatic incident very poorly. The graphic video of child sexual abuse material at work. I think I didn't mention that or take that into account in mitigating stuff, and it is obviously presented as a mitigating artifact. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just so we make sure that we're not disregarding stuff that has been presented as potentially mitigating. Sorry to backtrack.
Thank you.
But, and James Odd for the record, it's an interesting argument that he makes. I don't think it's consistent with the rapidity of the behavior, but I think something to acknowledge. Stress at work makes us do funny things, but I think unless this spiral is sort of a result of this also is more compelling than the attorney letter, but I still think it's not really consistent with the pattern of behavior that's presented. So, thanks.
So with that, I'm
Well,
going to backtrack. Oh, did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, I'm really sorry. I was just going to say it was, if anyone needs the page number, it's A7, page 3 of 6.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. If anyone, I didn't say what page I was looking on at the exhibits, and I just wanted to say it was exhibit Alpha 7, page 3 of 6.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I will go back to, is there anyone who believes the conduct does rise to the level to warrant the denial of license, and therefore we would recommend to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee that his certification be denied?
James Odd for the record, I would say the evidence is compelling enough to deny certification.
Okay. Do I need to do each one separately? Or can I?
Well, if it's a vote, a motion,
Oh,
a
thank you.
second, and then Lon can do the roll call.
Okay. So I'm hearing that there is a motion for Mr. Huckins' conduct violate or does rise to the level to warrant his denial of license and recommendation to the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee that his certification be denied. Is that correct?
James Odd for the record, yes, that is correct.
With that, then we need a roll call or a second. I'm sorry. Is there a second? I guess I will make the second if that's acceptable. There's only 3 of us, so it's. Okay, so then now we need the roll call, please.
Am I doing? Perfect. So we are voting on a motion to deny the private investigator license in question. Member Odd,
Yes.
Member Walt,
Yes, deny.
and Member Snyder.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay. With that, that concludes number 3. We are on to number 4 for agency update.
Susie Herring for the record. I don't have a lot to report out today for you all, just to give you an update on the survey. So thank you, the 3 of you, for approving the questions that'll be going out. Juan is actively working on getting that survey prepared so that can go out to the industry, and then we'll have a better idea of how we can maybe coordinate that. Calling it kind of a summit. I don't know if that's the right word for that, but we'll get something together. Hopefully, the next time we meet, that we'll have that. If we need to meet, I mean, obviously, we're going to meet if we have any more cases for Michelle here.
You're keeping us busy.
Yes, she is. So we will. If not, then maybe what we'll do is I'll call something just so we can get together and have a discussion on the results of that. And then just an update that the case that you visited last meeting will be going before the policy committee today at 1:30. And then this case will go to the next policy committee. And then I will be sharing at that meeting today in relationship to budgetary issues with a new system that we'll be moving to called, or hopefully moving to, called Excella, because we are sunsetting Skills Manager. And I'll be discussing that today, a little bit of what that might look like for the industry as a whole, but just sharing a little bit of that today with you all. Where we will be, we've got some more digging to do with our budget folks. I do have one attending the meeting this afternoon, not necessarily doing any sort of presentation yet, but I've done some digging a little bit. We may have to do, I know you guys just took a fee increase this last go around, but we may have to do a smaller one just to cover the cost of the implementation of the new program. And also what I'll be doing, and that could be something that we share when we meet with this group, is the policy committee hasn't been really given a big overview of what the revenue and expenditures are. I'm going to try to start doing a better job of sharing that information with them to help understand where and why these fee increases are needed. And just one to share with you recently for the programs is our DOJ bill has been very high, extremely high. This is kind of like impactful number, but to share with you, I haven't gotten January's numbers from business services, but for PIs for December, we had revenue, the revenue that comes in for the licensures was 26,000, just almost 27,000 is the revenue that came in for that. And the expenditures for that month were almost $69,000 because we had $46,000 AG bill for investigators. And that is something that is unpredictable because we have cases such as this that would come before you, maybe go to the policy committee, or they may be mandatory or ones that are handled through staff. And those will go out and the individual has their due process. And some people exercise that due process. And unfortunately, the program carries the load of the cost of that. So if it's beneficial to you all, then I can kind of break that out just for your group and share that information when we meet, depending upon how often that is. But yeah, I really didn't have anything else much going on yet. I know we've got the round table and there may be some items that come up with that we can talk about and continue to work towards getting some continuing education for this industry. I did talk to Crystal Maroney. She's our learning and development specialist. And she said she would be happy to do a presentation for the ethics portion of this when we get it all worked out. So that would be fantastic.
Pauline is not for the record. I totally agree.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Nothing additional.
Okay. Well, thank you. I guess at the same time, with the survey, and one thing I had thought of, and it kind of piggybacks with the roundtable is, and this is a question for the other members too, is, and correct me if of the means as to how it's communicated, it's Gov Delivery. Is that the email system? My question is are the other members of this committee signed up to receive emails through the Gov Delivery as well? And or is that something that we need to also address or maybe even ask in our survey about the Gov Delivery and, PIs within our industry? Are they receiving communications from DPSST? Is that something that is missing as well?
I receive notifications. I signed up for it though, so I don't know how many people have signed up for that. So I just thought that was really funny because like when I got the emails from you guys about our meeting, a couple hours later I got one from DPSST also. So it's helpful, and I just don't know how many people actually receive those.
Same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good feedback. I think what we could do is incorporate that into the survey. When we do send out the survey, we will be using the investigator's email that we have on file rather than utilizing Gov Delivery because we don't know who is all signed up. We do know we can get the quantity, like the number of individuals, but we can't confirm that they're actually licensees of ours,
True.
because anybody can sign up for them. So it will be good to incorporate that into the survey. So I'll work with Juan and adding that to it as well.
Great. Well, with the roundtable, was there anything else from any other members to bring up as part of this discussion? Hearing anything. So with that, are we kind of tentatively tabling meetings at this time, or did we need to tentatively set a date for the next one?
So I think, Susie Herring, for the record, we had mentioned at the last meeting to maybe continue to kind of keep it on the same day that we have the policy committee, and we can certainly cancel if we don't have any agenda items. So
Okay.
I would say we probably try to keep that in line. That works.
Which works for me.
Do you know the next meeting?
Oh, when
Oh,
the PSIP
yeah.
is, we should know
Yeah,
that.
I can.
Yeah.
I know.
May 19th, 2000.
Yes.
Thank you.
So to see, I know it's in my calendar, but so May.
On the PSIP one.
Oh, wow, that's, because it's quarterly, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, my
Yeah.
brain is, okay, that makes sense. So May 19th will be our next meeting.
And we may need to do one earlier if we get all the results back from the survey to go through that, to start kind of determining what you guys would like to see at that.
Does that work for other committee members as well? Maybe meet before May if we get survey results in?
Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
work for
that
me.
totally works. Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Well, with that, I believe we are adjourned.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
did want to say, yeah, Helena, thank you so much. You're doing great. I appreciate you working through this stuff and making it happen. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. No, it's a team effort. So everybody on the staff as well as the two of you. So
And thank you all for, this is Michelle Morrison. Thank you all for participating. I really value the discussions that you have and all of your review. It's very helpful. I really appreciate that.
Here, here. Yeah.
okay. Well, until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.